Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mouse Club podcast. My name is Marissa, and I am the host of this podcast. Welcome. I am so excited that you're joining me. If this is your first time, welcome. I hope you'd like to stay around a while. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button on whatever platform that you're listening to this on so that you can join us for future episodes. And if you're coming back, well, thanks so much for coming back. I really enjoy having you guys come back. And for everybody who started listening and went back and re-listened to older episodes, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. Well, today, guys, we're in for a very special treat for the Halloween edition, special edition episode of the Mouse Club podcast. I am freaking out, guys. I am currently sitting in a hotel room with my sister and her boyfriend, and we had a tropical storm roll through in Atlanta, and we lost power. And we are re-listening to this episode and crying. We're all very emotional right now because the one and only Jason Marsden is joining us. If you do not know Jason Marsden, I can guarantee that you do know him, but you may not be familiar with his name, but you are definitely familiar with his voice. Jason Marsden has played so many iconic roles, including Max Goof from A Goofy Movie, notably this week for Halloween, Thackery Binx from Hocus Pocus. He's also been in so many different shows, including Boy Meets World, Full House. He's been on Even Stevens, Rugrats. I could go on and on, guys. I literally don't even, if I listed all of them, we'd probably be here till tomorrow because he is just so talented and multifaceted. And I feel so grateful that he said yes to come onto the podcast. And I hope you guys can appreciate how generous he is with his time, that he took time out of his day to be on this podcast, which is really up and coming. And I'm really, truly thankful for that. And I hope that you guys will go check out all of his social channels and go support his YouTube channel. And we're going to talk about it in the episode, but we need your help to get him on Christy's Kitchen Throwback on YouTube. So make sure you go to Christy's Kitchen Throwback and comment that you want to see Jason Marsden on her YouTube channel. So anyway, I know everyone is really excited to hear from Mr. Marsden. He is super awesome. And oh my gosh, you guys are going to love this episode. I can't even describe it. I literally can't even describe it. I am so excited. He has played so many iconic roles through the 90s and the early 2000s and up till now. And it's just such an amazing episode. I'm really, really excited. We usually do some Mouse Club news. There's not that much to talk about this week, and I do want to get through the news pretty quickly because I know everyone is really looking forward to hearing from Jason Marsden. So really quickly, all I wanted to say is that my heart goes out to every cast member who has been let go this week. This week, they cut a lot of people from entertainment, which includes a lot of my friends. And they've been cutting people for weeks. I mean, we've all heard by now that unfortunately Disney in both World in Florida and Disneyland in California is letting go of so many cast members. And I just want to say that my heart is with you all. And if you need anything, please reach out because I love you guys. So many of my friends have been let go and I'm really, really sad. Especially some of my friends who I've been to auditions with and we've gone into costume fittings together and they finally got their role and unfortunately now are not able to be friends with who they were friends with, and that is really heartbreaking and sad. And of course, Disney also released this week that they are cutting Festival of the Lion King, the Finding Nemo, the musical, Beauty and the Beast live on stage, so many shows. And it is really a travesty and really, really sad. So if you're in the parks right now, please leave a little survey and say that you want more entertainment offerings in the park because that is how we can save these jobs. Also, they released this week that they are going to be changing the entrance signs for the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World next year, which I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of, and I'm a little bit disappointed that they released that news that they're going to be spending this money to refurbish these signs as they were cutting cast members. I just wish they had a little more tact with that situation, and I don't even know how to describe it. I really feel for you guys who your job was let go and then you saw that news. So I do apologize. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about that because it is a really, really hard time. But anyway, guys, that is pretty much it for Mouse Club news this week. Of course, The Mandalorian is going to be streaming this Friday on Disney Plus, as well as so many other Halloween and fun movies for this season. So be sure to check those out on Disney Plus. And I guess that's pretty much it. Hocus Pocus is also on Disney Plus. We're talking with Jason Marsden today if you want to check it out. And anyway, guys, we're going to take a quick break to talk to our sponsor, and then we'll be right back with Jason Marsden. For everybody listening, this is Jason Marsden.
Hello, everybody.
He has been in some incredible things. Your filmography list is very extensive, which is super awesome. You've appeared in so many iconic movies, shows, video games, and more, including Goofy Movie, Hocus Pocus, Spirited Away, The Lion King 2, and more. You're also a father and a massive Batman fan. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Marissa.
Of course. Well, I guess we can start with Hocus Pocus because it is Halloween in 2 days.
It is almost All Hallows Eve, isn't it?
Yes.
All the children dressing up, the witches will be out. I hope there's no airhead virgins nearby.
I hope not either, because we will be in trouble. Well, excellent. So I have some fun questions for Hocus Pocus, because I know when you joined Hocus Pocus, the principal photography was already over, right? You joined at the end of the filming.
Yes, it was already mostly edited. Binx was already about 85% animated by the time I joined. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Did you have like footage of the cat to reference, or not really, not yet at that point?
Oh no, I had the entire movie to reference. I did all my performance to picture. They showed me first I did Sean's scenes. They showed me his scenes and I looped to him, and then they showed me the Binx scenes. And I looped to that as well.
Yeah, that's so cool, because I was going to ask you too, because you've done quite a bit of dub work, because you also did dub work with Spirited Away as well. But that one's like a foreign language. So did you find like doing English easier and just matching to Sean Connery, or did you find like the Japanese, I guess, dub easier because the mouth didn't really have to sync?
I'm sorry. I'm stuck in my brain because you said Sean Connery. I was like, that's so cute.
Wait, did I say it wrong?
John Murray.
Murray. I'm so sorry.
He'd love to be called Sean Connery. That's a different Sean. It's trickier to do live people because the shapes of the mouths are like, if you're off a little bit, you can tell. Anime, it's just they just kind of open and close. They don't really do like the ooh shapes. So you just have like, it's more timing, but with real people, it's a little trickier.
Right. Especially because he had already done the scenes, right? So you were just kind of matching with what he had already done.
Correct.
Yeah. That's so neat, though. I feel like I've seen a couple of the clips of somebody who does Pokemon. She did a whole video about like how sometimes the translation from Japanese to English is a little bit off. So sometimes you have to like add some words or take off some words to get the mouth to match.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
It is very interesting.
Because some people always are confused why the dub doesn't match the sub, but I've heard it's because sometimes the dub, you have to add some words to just get it to match with the mouth.
Yes, the Japanese language is so different than ours. There's so many different words that they use, and so many what's the word? Affectations. Their storytelling just a little bit different, so they have to in a way dumb it down so we can understand. So American audiences can understand. So that's also how that could happen.
Huh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense too. And then, so for Binx, did you already have like an old English accent ready to go when they had you going, or did they have you do any training with somebody?
No, I wish that I did train with somebody, because I always say that's the one role I wish I could do over, because I just did not think it was perfect. There's some points I'm like, I think he sounds Australian. I don't know what I was doing that day. It was. I should have done a little bit more prep, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, you were young back then too, though, right? That was
I think I was 19
wow.
or so when I did that movie. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was old enough to know better. I was old enough to not be lazy, Marissa.
That's true, but I'd say you did a pretty good job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And he's iconic now. I mean, Binx, and then you have that puppet I've been seeing in your Instagram videos and your YouTube videos. Is he
I
from the
do.
set?
No, he's from Amazon.
Oh, really?
I
That
did,
works.
I went to an event, a Comic-Con in Knoxville, Tennessee,
Hmm.
and this guy came up to my table with one of those puppets, and I was like, "That's where did you get that?" He's like Amazon. I glued some teeth into it and made it look more like a Binx. I'm like, well, that'll be fun. I'll get one of those and I'll bring that with me because I do these public appearances
Hmm.
and you meet all these kids and the parents. They force them up to your table and they're like, this is the guy that does the voice. And you do the voice and they look at you like you're crazy. But when I have the puppet, they
Hmm.
can, they love
Mine.
that, they're able to a
Yeah. Like
little
it
bit more.
clicks for them a little bit better.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
a funny story about that. I brought the puppet with me to an event and, someone had a dog with them and the dog saw the puppet on my table and beeline for my table and kind of like jumped up and was sniffing and whining and very worried. And the owner said, "Oh my gosh, he thinks that it's our Binx." I said, "What do you mean?" He's
Aw.
like, "We had a black cat named Binx who passed away a few weeks ago, and the dog thinks that that's the cat." And I put the puppet on, and I went nose to nose with the dog, and the dog was whimpering like he
Oh
had
my gosh.
found his long lost friend. It was so sweet.
That is so cute.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's really cute.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the puppet is really cute. He really does look like Binks.
He's fun. He's fun.
And so the I think really the last question I have about Hocus Pocus was when you guys were actually putting the movie together, was there any concern about, I mean, I know this was the 90s, so it was a different time, but was there any concern about referencing like a virgin so much in a kids movie? Or was it like, they'll kind of not really notice it?
Well, Marissa, I mean, like my involvement, those decisions were already made, and
Right.
I never, I, I never even thought about it at the time. Uh,
Right. Well, that's
yeah,
what my sister-in-law were just talking about that because we're like, in the 90s, I feel like you could get away with a lot more back then, and now it's a little
sure.
more like strict on things that you have to say.
Yes.
So I was just curious, but I feel like most kids when they watch probably are just like, man, I don't know what that is, and they just kind of move on.
I remember, I'm a big Madonna fan growing up in the 80s and
Hmm.
asking my parents, like, what does virgin mean? She sings a song about the virgin. Like, what's a virgin mean?
Yes.
And my dad just goes, it means untouched.
That
Untouched.
works.
I was like, okay, all right. I went with that. And then and I remember confronting them in my teens, being like, that's not what it means. Like, well, technically it does. I'm like, okay,
Right.
okay.
The little, like a little bit of a more innocent version.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Well, you mentioned Comic Con, so I had to bring it up because I know you played Nelson on Full House,
Yeah,
and you mentioned in one of your interviews I watched while I was researching that you actually didn't reprise your role on Fuller House because you actually went to Dragon Con in Atlanta. Is that
correct.
true?
Yes, that's true. It's not like I ditched it. I mean, it's a long sorted thing. They had reached
Right.
out. Fuller House had reached out to me months prior, asking if I was interested. I said absolutely. And then about a few weeks before they were going to be recording in front of a live audience, they asked my availability and will I come out to LA to do it? And I was like, man, I just got this invitation to Dragon Con. I don't know, like, I can do both because Dragon Con's on the weekend. I know you guys record on a Friday, and so I had went to a friend's wedding, excuse me, in Yosemite, and I was waiting for them to get back to me with a schedule, Fuller House. And I was up in the mountain. I was literally up in the mountains. I didn't have any cell reception. Couldn't get emails. I remember going to a nearby library so I could log onto their computer so I could check my email. And so I tried, and we just kept missing each other. So I was like, hey, look, I'm sorry. I know you need an answer for me. Go ahead and find someone else. Appreciate you guys. So I was like, okay, I'll do Dragon Con. I'm going to go back and enjoy the wedding. And then, Yosemite's done. I get back to, dry land, and my phone's blown up. Fuller House is like, please, we want you to do this. And I'm like, I made my choice,
Yeah.
I live in Nashville. Atlanta is just a couple hours away. I would have had to flown to LA probably on my dime. And when I go to cons, I do the whole thing. I bring costumes and all that stuff. So everything I was going to bring to Comic-Con, I would have to bring to LA. Long story short, it was much easier on my blood pressure and my psyche to just go to Dragon Con.
Right.
And I don't think I made the bad decision.
Yeah, I think that's super awesome though, because I mean, I know your fans like really love to see you at these cons, and
Yes.
I was curious too if you have any like favorite costumes of any of your fans who've worn like maybe characters that are like not as popular, or like maybe ones that you never expected to see anybody cosplay.
I love the gender bent cosplays where it's like a gal dressed as Indiana Jones, or
Yeah.
a guy wearing like a masculine She-Ra costume. I mean, the creativity, or the tongue in cheek sort of humor is always fun. I saw this group walking around as like the classic, cereal mascots, like the Trix Bunny and
Oh,
Captain
that's
Crunch,
cool.
but they were all like warriors. It was really cool.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, people get very creative. It's really
Very
awesome.
creative. Yeah.
I see them all on Instagram. I've never been to a con, but I want to go one day because they seem really, really fun,
It's so
especially
much
dress
fun.
up.
It's so much fun. It's where all the geeks and the nerds and those of us who feel like we're outsiders can go and be ourselves,
Right.
in a safe and nurturing environment. And
Right.
it's just fantastic. I encourage you to give it a shot.
Yeah, I definitely will. My little brother has autism and he really loves going. He's actually a very big fan of My Little Pony. I know you're big I can't talk. I know you're good friends with Tara Strong.
Yes.
So he is a big fan of My Little
He's a
Pony. And
brony.
yes, he is a brony, that's for sure. But
Nice.
he loves the cons and he says the same thing. Like he feels like, he doesn't he feels like he just has like a home when he goes, which is really
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
yes. Well, okay, I guess my next question, they're kind of scattered, I'll be honest with you, because you've just done so much incredible work and I have a lot of questions for you.
Bring it.
So
Bring it. Go where your excitement leads you.
okay, sounds good. So I guess my next question is Goofy movie, obviously huge nowadays, but it used to be pretty underrated and now it is like very beloved and very popular. And I was wondering if you're happy about that, if that's one of your favorites that you've done. Any words on that, I guess.
Marissa, I'm extremely happy about that.
Yeah.
It brings me so much joy that movie has brought people so much joy. As an actor, you work on projects and you never know how people are going to receive it. You just hope that they enjoy themselves. You never know what's going to last. And I remember when Goofy movie was released, it was received very well. It was something that I was extremely proud of. It is definitely one of my favorite experiences, both working on and being a part of. And I love that people are still watching it to this day. The most consistent feedback I get when I meet people who love a Goofy movie is, this movie, I had a tumultuous relationship with my parents or my parent, and we bond, we've bonded over this movie, and that's one of the things you never expected.
Right. Especially with the father-son relationship that it shows, because I feel like
Precisely.
that's not in a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it is crazy on my Facebook and Instagram. Like, my friends are big fans of a Goofy movie, and I am too. I mean, the music too. It's great music. I was actually just listening to it before we jumped on this call.
Nice.
It's such good music. Well, okay, so Bill Farmer, who plays Goofy, you guys are very close in real life.
He plays my dad. That's right.
and I know he has a new show on Disney Plus. It's a
He
Dog's
does.
Life.
It's a Dog's Life with Bill Farmer.
Yes. Do you think we might see a guest appearance from you maybe one day?
I would love that. If they get another season, if maybe he'll do like a dog and puppy episode, and maybe he'll have a trip off his old Goof. We're there with him.
That would be so cute. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've seen the two of you together at D23, but it would be so cool to see you both together again, because I just feel like that's so iconic.
Yeah, he's great. I love going to events with him, and when people discover that he's Goofy, because he's just this unassuming looking dude, this regular looking dude, and they're like, "Are you Goofy?" And he goes, "Gosh, sure I am," and they just burst into confetti. They lose themselves. He knows the power he wields, and he is so humble about it. And I know that he loves doing the role, and he's tremendous human being.
Oh, that is so nice. That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
And then, so I was wondering if you could clear some controversy. So
controversy around me.
I don't know if you would know the answer to this question, but there's a huge internet debate about whether Max and Goofy are dogs or cows. So I don't know if you know the answer, but I had to ask.
I've never heard the cow thing. Wow. I'm pretty sure they're dogs. Bill will say, like Goofy's a dog, a DAWG, a special kind of, Disney created dog, because you got Pluto, who shares the same space, and that's kind of weird. But no, they're not. They're not cows. Cows, for crying out loud, people. Look at horse collar. Put them next to Goofy. They're completely different.
Right. I was saying that too. And like Clarabelle, I feel like their animation is just so different from each other.
Yeah, snouts. They got the Goofs have like the Pluto kind of dog nose. Clarabelle, Horace, they have the cow nostrils, the big round face.
Right. Okay, I'm glad you cleared that up, because that's a big debate on the internet.
Have you been losing sleep about this, Marissa?
Sometimes I do. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have to know the answer.
Is it a yuck or is it a hamu? I don't know what it is.
Right. Okay, well, I think that's all my questions about a Goofy movie. So I guess my next one that I have is, okay, this one I want you to guess about what we're talking about. So. Okay. I don't know if you know, but one of your characters is found to be very attractive by a lot. Yes, you knew. I was curious if you knew, because there's so many memes about Kovu.
Yes.
How much girls love him.
Yes, I am aware of the curious stirrings that this cat has brought to adolescent teenage girls. Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. My partner calls him a hot topic Simba, because he's like the goth, like bad boy version of Simba. But yeah, it's I have received that feedback, and it tickles me to no end.
It's so funny. It's so true though, because they say that girls look for bad guys who they want to make good, and guys look for good girls that they want to make bad. So I could see why Kovu is very attractive to a lot of girls.
Right on.
Well, okay, so in some interviews you called Lion King 2 the unnecessary Lion King movie, but I was wondering if you still love it. There's a lot of good messages in the movie. So I was curious your thoughts on Lion King 2.
I watched it again recently, and look, I mean, like, this is just my personal opinion, and I have mad respect for the filmmakers, the directors who worked really hard on this and animators. It looks beautiful. I would much rather watch the first Lion King.
Yeah, I feel that. The
Yeah,
iconic.
but that's just me. And hey, look, I'm not gonna, smack the hand that feeds me. I'm extremely proud to be part of it. It's beautiful to look at. There's a lot of great moments into it. My opinion comes from like being a filmmaker myself and a storyteller. And then I look back at like there was no reason that movie had to be made. It was the only reason it was made was because direct to VHS sales were a positive thing
Right.
for a company. So I don't know if that was a good enough reason to push something like that,
Right. Yeah, definitely. Those, I have a lot of those VHSs actually, like Little Mermaid 2 and
Sure.
the Aladdin sequels. That was like popping back in the day.
I remember. That's what started all those that Aladdin sequel. Made gobs
Yes.
of money. And Uncle
Right.
Disney's like, hey, let's do more of these.
Right. Exactly. Well, I guess my next question I have for you is, so you've worked with Christy Carlson Romano a few times.
I have. Yeah.
Kim Possible, you played Felix, and on Even Stevens, you guest starred one episode as well.
Yeah.
So I was curious if you've seen her new YouTube show, Christy's Kitchen Throwback, and if we might see an appearance from you one day.
Now, I just heard about that through my pal Will Friedle, who was also on Kim Possible. He's like, you got to talk to Christy. She's doing this because I just launched a YouTube show on my own.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you got to check out Christy's thing. Her husband has, figured it out, and it's this great thing, and they got lots of followers. And so I checked it out, and it looks like so much fun. It's super simple. I would love to be a part of it. If she asked me, I would definitely hop on that train. I think he'd just go into her kitchen and make something.
Make some good food. I mean, you have a lot of iconic food that you could make, like the Leaning Tower of Cheesa or so many different foods. Okay, well, now that you said you want to be on it, I'm going to start commenting on all her videos to invite you on, because that would be so cool.
That's how it works. I could embarrass myself and be like, Christy, please. But it looks much better when the fans are like, Christy, come on.
Yes.
What are you doing?
I got your back. I will be on there.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you. That would be a very fun episode.
If that happens, I will dedicate whatever we make to you. Be like, this is the Marissa Potts sourdough bread bowl that we just made.
Wow, that makes me feel very special. I appreciate that. I'll definitely be on there. Well, okay, so some more things I have. So you just recently started playing Disney Emoji Blitz.
Yes.
Which I love that game.
I'm obsessed. Seriously, I'm obsessed. Like, I'm so glad it has a setting that's like, okay, you're done. You can't play for a while.
Right? To take you off.
Yes. There have been nights where I'm like, free spin. All right, I'll watch the thing.
Right.
And maybe I'll get more lives. Yeah, I'm into it.
And it's cool because you have some of your characters on there.
Yes. I had to pay for Max. I had to pay for Binx because I wasn't good enough to get all the things. And I guess from what I understand, I was pretty lucky that I got them in the first place, because now that I've been playing, I've gotten joy from In and Out 3 times in a row, and 28 emojis. Like, come on, you guys.
Right? I know. That's how they do it. That's how they steal that money from you, you know?
Ooh, yeah, no, I'm not spending any more dough. Luckily, all my characters are not on there anymore, so.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you never know though. They add more every week, so.
I know. Believe me, I'm trying to get Uncle Scrooge. That's what I'm trying to get.
Oh, yes. He's a good one.
Yes.
For anybody who's listening who doesn't know what we're talking about, Disney Emoji Blitz, it's kind of like Candy Crush, but Disney edition, and you collect characters and they each have like special powers. And Mr. Marsden's character is Thackery Binx and Max. They're both on there. So It's a very fun game. It's very addicting for sure.
Yeah, indeed.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, well, you're also a father now. And
I am.
I was curious about your son, if he enjoys any of your work like a little too much, like if you're like, okay, I can't watch this movie anymore, or if there's any that you're like, oh, I wish he would enjoy watching this with me.
Hey, Clark, is there any of my work that you're obsessed with? Like what? What's the thing that I've done that you like the most? Okay, there. Can you hear him?
I heard just a little bit.
He likes Hocus Pocus. He's
Okay.
I'm not like obsessed with anything about it. Like, I love my son. I've never like forced anything down his throat. Like we'll watch things and he'll pick up that that's me. But he's found things like on his own, and he'll like when we go to cons, I think he's like realized how popular I am, and to certain people, and he'll want to visit that. But he is of his own mind. He likes anime. He likes the macabre. He likes horror and strange things, and we both enjoy The Amazing World of Gumball. That's one of our favorites that we watch together. So he's like any kid who's he's mildly impressed with me. Eventually he'll realize I'm not as cool as he thinks I am, and he won't want to hang out with me anymore. But
that's so funny.
There's a couple of things that I did a show called Erie, Indiana, and he discovered that early on, and that's something I'm really proud of. And there's a couple of movies I've done that he hasn't seen yet that when he's ready, I'll be happy to show them to him.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's so cool. I've heard of that from a few actors, like Kristen Bell, who plays Anna in Frozen. She talks about how her daughters love Elsa. And so they make her dress up as Elsa, and they want to talk about Elsa, and she's Anna.
That is just good. I haven't heard that. That's funny.
Which I just think it's so funny how like unrelentless kids are, where they're just like, yeah, whatever. Right. So what? You did this iconic role.
Of course. Feed me.
Right. Well, so let's see. I also want to talk about, okay, so your height. That's another topic. So
let's talk about that.
So you are 5'1", you've mentioned before.
I am.
And I was curious because a lot of people that I've met, or like actors, they say like, I don't want to be known as like the short guy, or I don't want to be known as like the fat guy or the bald guy. But I was curious what you think, like if those characteristics and personality or like physical traits can help you like book some jobs, like if you think using them to your advantage is a good thing, or if you agree with that.
Marissa, yes and no. Being short for my height, for my age, has always worked for me. Growing when I started in the business, because I looked young, I was able to play younger characters.
Right.
But then things started to happen. Like I auditioned to play the boyfriend of this gal on a TV show, and the producer, I remember, I'll never forget this. He singled me out. He marched me out of the audition room. He's like, "Hey man, look, I got to tell you, you're one of the best people that's come in here, but I can't hire you." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, our gal, she's like 5'5", and it just wouldn't work. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm my girlfriend at the time. My girl, like, I've dated a lot of girls who are taller than me. I mean, this is reality. I mean, like,
right.
So the short, no pun intended, the short-sightedness of creatives has been very frustrating for me. Right. And then there was a point in my career where the people who were representing me, it seemed like they would only send me out for roles that were a certain height, like a character who happened to play a mascot on a show, or a guy who was a jockey. I mean, like all these, or if there was a short joke, and it was very frustrating because I'm not God's gift to acting, but I know that there's a lot more to me than just my height. Right. Danny DeVito is a fantastic character actor. He's shorter than I am. Steve Buscemi, Sean Astin. I mean, like, tremendous actors who I feel that I am on par with, and I'm sad that I am looked at like that. Now in voiceover, It doesn't matter how tall or short you are. Um, but ultimately, yeah, I do have a little bit of bitterness of it, but I really don't let it bother me. I exude with my personality that I'm bigger than I appear, and I don't settle for anything less.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I've heard that before, about like the jokes. My friend, he's just getting into acting now, and he booked a role where he's a little bit heavier, and it was a show where he was basically like the fat character and had all the
Mhm.
fat jokes.
Mhm.
And so he was like, I really can't let this, like, this is gonna affect my self confidence, which is sad that
Yeah,
that happens.
yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy for sure. Well, I guess going off of that, is there any like advice you have for people who want to get into acting or voice acting specifically for the future?
Yeah, I mean, for both. I mean, whether you're acting in theater or on camera or voiceover, it's really important that you have training. You know, that you have.
Mm-hmm.
I always recommend improv, scene study. Any sort of acting workshops. Uh, Especially with voiceover, a lot of people have this misconception that voiceover is just, oh, I can do wacky voices, I can do
Mm-hmm.
certain texture or character to my voice. Like, that's great, but can you perform? And just to make sure that you have the chops. You have the confidence
Mm-hmm.
to emote at the drop of a hat, because that's what you're required to do as an actor.
Right. Yeah, that's really good advice. I've heard about improving. That it's fun too.
It's
It's
a
a
lot
fun
of fun, and
activity.
it helps you get out of your head, because a lot of us actors are so. Most of us are, we're so self-deprecating and self-judging, and improv is a way to just, you have to push past that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to, perform at the height of your intelligence, and just see what happens, especially if it doesn't go your way, in hopes that magic will be made. I highly recommend improv for any performer.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And do you have any like vocal exercises or ways to save your voice that you recommend? Like any special concoctions?
I don't. I don't know if I'm just lazy. I don't know a lot of voice actors that do, really. I mean, I'll usually sing, in the car on the way to work, if I have a gig. The common thread is, like, don't have caffeine or anything dairy
Mm-hmm.
that'll make you all mucusy before a session. Uh, that sort of thing.
Okay. That's a good tip. When I used to sing in my high school choir, we had to do the same thing. No caffeine, no dairy,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
sugar. So I guess next we can kind of talk about video games. There's somebody in the room with me who's a big fan of Final Fantasy.
Right on. Yes.
So I was curious about your work on with video games, because I know it's kind of like a one-sided narration. You don't really get to hear from the character you're talking to too much. So
Yes.
does that affect you in any way, or is it still super enjoyable to do video games?
The first part of the question is, does it affect me to, uh, perform, kind of like by myself? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Not every cartoon I've worked on has been with an ensemble. I've done a lot
Mm-hmm.
of shows by myself. I'd much prefer to work with another actor. Absolutely. So it's really no sweat off my back. It's just part of the gig.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, what was the second part of the question?
Just if it makes it less enjoyable, but I guess you kind of answered that because you're used to
Yeah.
it. Is there any like pros or cons to doing video game work specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it's for a while there, it was a little bit less money. It's much harder work. Um, I mean, this has been publicized widely the last several years. Our union has been in contention with the video game companies, their producers, for a while, and I was kind of part of these negotiations, not in the negotiations, but I would pay attention to what my union was doing, and I would hear the feedback, and the feedback from the producers of these video games was just awful, saying things like, bow to our commands, or we'll get someone else to do it. Anybody can do what you do. And I definitely take that personally, because I challenged them to find anyone who could do what I can do in the minimum 4 hours that's required, at the level of performance that me and my peers are required to give, and then still function the next day. I mean, there's a lot of, video games require a lot of battle, a lot of battle efforts, a lot of screaming. And if you don't know how to do it right, you're out of commission for a week. And a lot of voice actors, will book multiple sessions even in a day, and that can affect that. So it's rough for me politically, because on that side of it, it's a multi-billion-dollar business that is a little stringent with their creatives. At the same time, as a performer, I mean, I've had a lot of fun working on video games. I've had some gratifying experiences. So it's tough. It's tough when you want to go and have a good time, but you're not sure if the people that you're working for are going to take care of you the right way.
Right. For sure. I can imagine, especially with different companies. I'm sure over time you probably learned which ones you preferred to work with over others.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I did a game called Skyrim, and so at the time, the contract is you can hire a voice actor to perform up to 3 voices, is what it says. 3 voices. And then it's a bump for every, voice after that. I booked Skyrim. It was just a booking. I didn't have to audition for it, and I'm grateful for that. But I walked in the room, and they're like, "Yeah, just use your own voice. The dialogue is on this plasma screen here. Just read the dialogue, and we'll go one line at a time." I'm like, all right. After about a couple hours into it, I realized I must have read about 7 or 8 different characters. It was all the same voice, but I was clearly reading different characters: a bard, a magician, a king, a knight. And I felt, and I'm in this moment. I'm like, well, what do I do?
Right.
I don't want to. Do I risk losing this gig? Do I risk my reputation? All that. It was a horrible place to be put in. And I resent, I even forget the name of the company, whoever, Telltale. I mean, whoever made Skyrim, I still resent that experience as something they shouldn't have done. And especially because I'm constantly reminded about it. People bring it up to me all the time. Like, oh, I love your character. Oh, I love your character's Finn. I'm like, he has a name? I didn't even know he had a name. Like, they were so secretive about it. And so, wow. Yeah, I just have no respect for that, especially because I gave them everything.
Oh, for sure. It's very sneaky.
It was very sneaky. Yes.
Wow. That's crazy. Is that something that's happened to you multiple times, or was that really like the biggest occasion that's ever happened?
No, that was the only time.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Yeah. Usually there's a lot of transparency, but that was that was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, that sounds pretty crazy. I guess they just wanted to get the most bang for their buck without being honest.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Well, I guess another thing I was curious about with voice acting is if you've done any voiceover work for the Disney parks in particular.
Yes.
Like parades or anything, I guess.
Yeah, I did. I've done Max a couple times for the parades. I voiced a fairy for a, it was sort of like a cavernous walkthrough experience. Excuse me. Where you can go and get your pictures taken. Excuse me, sorry. Where you can go and get your picture taken with Tinkerbell in the queue. There's like a little area, and you can kind of hear these fairy voices. So I did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm gonna keep an eye out for it next time I go to the parks.
Keep an ear out for sure. And then for at Disney World, when you go see the Hocus Pocus villain show, we'll hear a familiar voice welcoming the crowd to the All Hallows Eve villain spectacular.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Yes.
I'm excited. That's one of my favorite things to do is when I watch like animation and stuff is matching the voices to the person because I mean there's so many iconic voices like of course Tara Strong who we mentioned earlier and like I mean you guys just are so multifaceted and talented that sometimes I try to see if I can hear like any little tone differences and, and try to catch on if it's the same person.
Right. Tara's a toughie. She's such a chameleon, and she's such a gifted actor too. It's clear why she's one of the top brass.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Something else I was going to mention too is when she did the movie My Little Pony, the posters that they did instead of featuring the voice actors, they posted featuring the celebrities like Sia and Kristen Chenoweth and Emily Blunt. Mm-hmm. I was curious how you feel if you think voice actors who have devoted so much of their time to these shows and movies if they deserve more recognition or if you feel like it's kind of nice because you don't have to deal with so many people I guess crowding you when you go out maybe.
Well, I mean I can't speak for my peers how they feel about it. I mean I have somewhat of an idea. Mm-hmm. But look, I mean I get it. I understand from a business standpoint. If you're an accountant or you're a marketing person and your job is to get people to come and see this movie.
Right.
If you want a parent to come drag their kids, it's so funny. They assume that their parents don't want to take their kids anywhere. That's just such a chore to, that will give them this tidbit that will entice them by saying like Sia is in this or Seth Rogen, or this celebrity is in this. So you'll have a good time while your kid has a good time. I understand that. I don't agree with it. I think, you can have Sia and also talk about the actors who are really doing the real work. I mean, and I'll just go ahead and say it. I've worked with plenty of celebrities who I have been a fan of, who I have seen just fold in front of the microphone. Like, it's so weird. Like they just can't do it. And who have marveled at watching Frank Welker and Tara Strong and Grey DeLisle and Phil LaMarr do their thing. Themselves that yes, I definitely think some of the credit needs to go to some of my guys and gals who do this on the regular. Kevin Michael Richardson, Tara, like we mentioned. Mm-hmm. The character would not have been shaped if it wasn't for them, for their performance. And I think so. There's a lot of people in the industry who have put voice actors in a certain category as non-actors. Mm-hmm. And that's troublesome to me.
Oh, for sure. Especially because, I mean, I feel like, voice actors can act, but I feel like not all actors can voice act. Like, there's so many different voices, and I feel like that takes true talent to be able to capture so many different characters.
Here's an example that I love to bring up. Even though the show Teen Titans. Mm-hmm. So there's Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans from the 90s, and I'm sorry, 2000s, and then there's Teen Titans Go.
Right.
And fandom has severe opinions about both, but that's not what I'm talking about. The original Teen Titans was a drama. It was a story-based drama action show, and it starred Tara Strong, Greg Sipes, Kari Payton, Scott Menville, and it got picked up as this kind of zany, broad, comedic show, and it's the same actors. Mm-hmm. Okay, now same actors who committed to doing to performances in amazing performances in a dramatic action-based show, and then also are killing it in this comedic show. I mean, say what you will about Teen Titans Go, I understand, but for me as an actor, like, I'm cracking up because these guys are doing phenomenal. Their comedic chops are ridiculous, and that's an example of how good voice actors can be. Let's bring up Bill Farmer again. Bill Farmer went through the ringer playing Goofy for a Goofy movie. Mm-hmm. There were threats of him being replaced by a celebrity. There were days that I came into work where they didn't want Bill to do the Goofy voice. They wanted him to do his own voice.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, talk about like a zany character. I mean, the character's name is Goofy, for crying out loud.
For real.
But there are some really human moments in that movie because Bill is such a gifted actor. Like, he was able to do that. He overcame all of that, and they kept him because he was able to deliver the performance that was required for that story. So I just want people to think about that when they think about, you know, oh, I do a great Bugs Bunny, I do a great Homer Simpson. Yeah, but are you a performer at the level that is required for the storytellers?
Right. And sometimes, I mean, with shows, I feel like, more specifically, I guess, they have you do quite a few different voices. So it's like, even if you're good at this one particular voice, they want you to do 4 or 5.
Yes. Well, 3 at first, and then,
right. And then you add on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I'm pretty much done with my questions. I do have one. I posted asking if anybody had any questions for you. And there's not a specific question, but they're just asking what it was like working on Boy Meets World. And that's pretty much it. They're just asking what it was like.
What it was like. It was tremendous. I had worked with the producer, Michael Jacobs, before on another show, and he was nice enough to give me that role. They wrote that part for me. Mm-hmm. Why his name is Jason. His name is Jason Marsden. Right.
Your name.
It was a lot of fun. I worked with a lot of great people. I solidified a friendship that I still have to this day with Will Friedle, who I love so much. And I have a lot of fun memories working on that show.
That's awesome. Was there any talk of bringing your character back for Girl Meets World?
There was none, but I did not expect them to. There was no reason to bring him back for that show.
That's fair. Okay, well, I guess all I have left is a game. So I always have a game when I bring guests onto my show, and I haven't explained this game to you yet. So so everybody listening and you are going to learn the rules at the same time. So this is called Food of Fiction. I created it yesterday. So a lot of your movies and shows have some iconic food in them. So I was curious, especially you living in Nashville, which is a huge food city. I was curious which foods you would pick from these shows if you had to pick one or the other. So I'm going to list them, and you can either tell me as yourself or as the character from that show, or both, whichever you prefer.
Okay.
Okay, so first off, Goofy movie. Would you pick Leaning Tower of Cheesa or the Hotel Pizza?
It's so funny. I've seen that meme for years, and I love pizza.
Yes, same.
And I like, even like crappy pizza is like good pizza for me. I would definitely go pizza over the pizza. Yeah. Yeah. I would not even combine the two. I would not put the cheese on the pizza. I would put the cheese with Bobby. Yeah, for sure.
I haven't even seen that cheese in a long time. Like, when I go to Publix or any grocery store, really, I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen the canned cheese. Maybe I'm not looking.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you're not looking, right?
But back then, that was iconic.
Yes.
Okay, so next, Fairly Odd Parents. So we have the Magic Muffin, or we have Blubber Nuggets.
I don't know what you're talking about. The Magic Muffin.
Okay, I'll tell you. So the Magic Muffin, it gives you one wish that it is, what's the word? That is not defined by the rules. So you can break all the rules with this Magic Muffin. Mm-hmm. And then Blubber Nuggets. So these are nuggets made from whale blubber.
Gee, let me think. Do I want a muffin that'll grant me a wish, or whale blubber? Blubber, blubber, blubber. You know, blubber's more fun to say. I'm going to go with the blubber.
Okay.
Voice again.
That's fair. I heard they're really tasty. I don't know if that's true. Okay.
Very chewy.
I'm sure they would be like erasers, I feel like is what they would taste like.
Hey, erasers taste good too. You like some erasers? Wow. She sounds really cool. Maybe she wants to hang out with me in my dirt pile.
That sounds so fun.
What?
I would love that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll send you a postcard with my address. I'm the trailer on the left. Their trailer on the left. Watch out for tornadoes.
Okay, I'll be there.
Yay! I have a new friend.
I'm excited for this. This sounds fun. All right. Well, next up we have Kim Possible. And Kim Possible has the infamous Naco or the Diablo sauce.
Oh, I would definitely go Naco.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
I feel like you have to pick the Naco.
Have to go with the Naco. Yeah. Yeah, Diablo is not good for any of my insides.
Yeah, the digestive tract after that would be.
Yeah, definitely. Feel like couldn't wheel to the bathroom fast enough.
Right. Okay, next up I have Hocus Pocus.
All right.
This one I had to do a little bit of digging for because there were not a lot of foods. But I've discovered there's Life Potion or at Danny's party, there's cider.
Oh, Life Potion or cider?
Yes.
My goodness. Well, I suppose after a long Hallows Eve of defending airhead virgins from awful witches, I would want to probably kick back and enjoy a good cider. Yes.
Yes. I feel like anything with those witches would be a little nerve-wracking to take.
Just pour it into my kitty bowl. I'll lap it up.
Okay. I think Danny's cider is probably delicious too.
Yes.
Okay, next up. Oh, we haven't even mentioned this show yet. So, Legend of Korra. You played, is it pronounced I?
Spirit I. Yes, that was me.
Yes, one of my favorite episodes of the show where we learn where the Avatar came from, how his story began, / her story began. So the food I have from this show are seaweed noodles or Uncle Iroh's tea.
Uncle Iroh's tea or seaweed noodles? I like seaweed noodles. They're tasty and they're good for you.
Yes. They both sound delicious. Or, maybe we could have them together.
Yes. Under love is an option. Absolutely.
Okay. Next up, I have Spirited Away.
All right.
You played Haku.
Yes.
So I have the Japanese names and then I'll tell you what they are.
All right.
So we have onigiri, which are rice balls, or I believe it's pronounced anman, which is a steamed bun with red bean paste.
Oh my gosh, they looked so delicious, didn't they?
Yes.
I might go for the onigiri. I think they sweeten it a bit, don't they?
I think so. I think that the rice is sweetened and then there's like some seaweed like decorations and stuff usually.
Oh yeah, the onigiri for sure.
Awesome. And then I just have one more. So I have Rugrats. So you were in a Rugrats episode.
Yes. Wow. Pretty good.
And so I have Reptar cereal or a Reptar bar.
Oh, cereal or bar. Is there a prize in the cereal box?
Yes, of course.
Then I'll go with the cereal.
Okay. Sounds good. And of course, there's so many more iconic shows, but these were the ones that I could find some foods from. So thank you for playing. That was fun.
Very clever, Marissa. Thank you for that.
Oh, of course. Well, I guess that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining us. This was amazing and so much fun to talk with you.
My pleasure. Thank you to your friend who got you a recording space when yours was not working. So thank you guys for making this happen.
Been fangirling in the background the whole time.
What's your name, fangirl?
My sister says she had a big crush on you in the 90s.
What's your sister's name?
Becca.
What's happening, Becca? How you doing?
Hi, Jason. Thank you for talking to my sister.
My pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure.
And her boyfriend is in the background getting a little jealous now.
Oh, hey, boyfriend.
I love Noel so much. You do amazing work.
He's a big fan of Final Fantasy, your character from Final Fantasy.
Right on. Thank you, my man.
Well,
Together we can save the future.
He's crying now.
Hey, do you mind if I plug my web series?
Of course. Please go for it. I was going to tell you if you could tell all your social channels as well.
Yes. Well, I would love if everyone followed me on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time. Just at Jason Marsden. I don't have a blue check mark yet. I don't know why. It's not like I haven't tried. They're so stingy over there. But Instagram's where I'm at. I'm on the Twitter. And I have a show on YouTube called the Mars Variety Show. And I would love it if you followed and subscribed to that. It's just search Mars Variety Show. It's a show I created to support independent artists, musicians, comedians, alt performers. And I presented in sort of a throwback to like the 60s variety shows of the day. And I host it. And there's everything. There's music and stand-up comedy and art and sculpture and movement and me doing silly things. So I'd love it if you watch that. I just released a big Halloween episode that I'm really proud of. So please take a look at that.
That's awesome. And I will, of course, have all these links in the show notes down below for anybody listening who would like to check them out. And of course, everybody, we need your help on Christy's Kitchen Throwback. We got to start commenting. Jason Marsden, we need him on.
Yes, that's your job.
Christy's Kitchen Throwback. And I'm also going to be hopeful for It's a Dog's Life. I'm hoping to see a familiar face on that show as well in the future.
That would be so much fun.
That would be amazing. Well, thank you so much. I know you've had a very busy day, so I will not keep you too much longer.
Thank you, Marissa.
Absolutely. It's been such a pleasure. And to everybody listening, if you'd like to follow our podcast as well, it is at the Mouse Club Podcast on Instagram. And that is pretty much it. Thank you everyone so much for listening. And I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Mouse Club podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe on whatever platform that you're listening to this on. And if you're listening on Apple, please leave us a little rating and review if you would be so kind. If you would like to follow us on social media, please check us out, themouseclubpodcast.com, or send us an email at themouseclubpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at The Mouse Club Podcast. And if you'd like to follow our host, Marissa Potts, that's me, you can follow me at Little Miss Mariss. That's LITTLEMRSMARISS, Little Miss Mariss. And you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.